everybody. I'm Andrea Miller, and I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator here at Community Hospitals and Wellness Centers in Bryan. And I'd like to welcome our live audience and viewers at home to Live It Knife Skills. And today I have Dr. Shannon Kyle with me, and she is a pathologist here at the hospital. Dr. Kyle, can you tell me a little bit about what you do here at the hospital?
Sure.
What does a pathologist do?
A pathologist is the person who, if you have any kind of surgery, if you have anything taken out of your body, I have to look at it under the microscope.
Okay.
So I also am the director of the lab, the medical director, so that any of the tests that are done or that your doctor orders, there has to be a physician that oversees all that, if there's any issues or whatever, and so I oversee that part of the lab.
Awesome.
I also, part of my training is forensics, and I had to do autopsies, so I'm the deputy coroner, so I work with Dr.
Wow.
Park, and then I would cover for him on the weekends and stuff like that sometimes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the reasons we're doing a knife skills episode today, well, first of all, we've gotten some requests on going over a little bit more in detail on how to use knives and what different knives are for, but also I've heard that you said that you have very good knife skills.
Yes. Yep. I'm good at it. I actually, I've had to do autopsies, so I can like hack a kidney out super fast, and I can like different organs I can cut, and so sometimes they get, they're slippery suckers, so
Very good.
I can, I
So
gotta.
if you can handle a kidney, you can handle a rutabaga, which that's what this is right here. This is a rutabaga. I picked out the biggest one, so if anybody did not get a rutabaga today, you're welcome to take this giant home. We're featuring the rutabaga today, and we're also featuring a different root vegetable called a turnip today. So these should be a piece of cake for you
Right,
to
no
handle.
problem. I can handle it.
So before we get started on cooking, we're only doing one recipe today. We're going to do we call it a rainbow vegetable hash because we have all different colors of vegetables here. We have our orange butternut squash. Well, let's go in rainbow order, right? So we have our red bell pepper, yellows. So the turnip, actually, when we cut it open, it's going to be slightly yellow. The butternut squash should be orange on the inside, so orange. It was orange, yellow, green. I don't know. Anyway, we have a lot of colors. So we're doing a rainbow vegetable hash. It has some turkey sausage in it. So that's back from about 2 years ago now. We did a turkey sausage recipe. So if you want to find the recipe for that, go to chwchospital.org and scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll find a link to all of the recipes, and certainly our turkey sausage there. And then to finish it off, we're going to put an egg on top of it. So have you ever had hash before? Like everybody, have you ever had that like corned beef and like potato hash that looks like dog food?
Yeah, exactly. And I've had it, I've had like one that comes out of the can.
Yeah.
But I've also had it in Florida. I had actual like Florida hash, like handmade. It was really good.
So like the canned stuff, I probably would not touch. But this hash, I think, is a great way to get some good lean protein and vegetables in at breakfast, or it's really an excellent lunch or dinner. So a really yummy recipe. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about knives. I have I actually brought in my knife set from home, and this was actually a wedding gift, and I've been married for 8 years now, so, and they're still working great. So I know a lot of people that don't actually have knives at home, and Dr. Kyle, you actually said you just recently got your knife set.
Yeah, I've had like kind of a mishmash of knives that I don't even like know where I don't remember. I think I bought one knife once, but like they give you some at the winery when you buy their little.
Okay.
Yeah, I use that one, like that little dollar one. I use a lot, and like my mom and my stepmom are always complaining because my knives are terrible. So I finally got some for Christmas, and they're like.
Changed your life,
yes,
right?
Amazing. It's a huge difference.
Absolutely. So you don't need an air fryer. You don't need an Instant Pot. You need this. If you don't have a good set of knives, go out and buy a good set of knives. So, and in this knife set, there are a lot of different types of knives. This is the workhorse. This is your chef knife. If you don't have a good chef knife, absolutely go out and buy one. Until recently, I thought these two things were the same knife. I would call them both chef knives, but they're a little bit different. This one, you can see there's like little ridges on it. This is a Japanese style knife called a santoku, I guess is what it is called. So it's slightly different, but you can use them pretty much for some, the same things. I just sharpened my knife. That's one of the most important things when using knives is to make sure that they're really sharp, because a sharp knife is a safe knife. So if you're cutting out a kidney with a dull knife,
right.
that could be problematic, right? So sharpening knives, I know for some people that can be really intimidating. Does anybody know what this is? You know what this is?
Isn't that the sharp?
Yeah, so it's not a magic wand. You don't say abracadabra, sharp. But it's not even actually for sharpening. It is called a honing device. And if you use this, you actually should use it every single time you use your knives.
Right.
If you use it, it can help to keep your knives sharp. Basically what it's doing on a microscopic level, if you look at a knife, so if you look, and you actually have have one over there too. If you look at this one, you can actually see like some little divots in that knife, and that means that it's not sharp. And sometimes that blade can kind of bend one way or another. So what this is for, you hold it at about a 20-degree angle and just kind of slide the knife down. And again, it will make the knife seem like it's sharper, but it's really just setting that blade back into alignment. But to sharpen the knife, you actually have to use some type of knife sharpener. So the honing you should actually do every time you use your knife. Sharpening you do maybe once or twice a year. And that's actually grinding away some of the blade and making like a new sharp edge. So sharpening, there are a lot of different ways that you could sharpen. So when I ask for things at the hospital, I often joke because I get them on an industrial level. I'm going to pull this out for a second. I'm not going to use it. I asked if they had a sharpening stone, and they're like, oh yeah, we have a sharpening stone. Well, this is what I got. If you have one at home, you'll probably get a much smaller sharpening stone. But you could use something like this, and it has like 3 different levels of coarseness, I guess. So you'd use the most coarse first. And I guess I can kind of show you how to do it. This is kind of intimidating. For most home chefs, this is very intimidating. This is a little intimidating for me. But basically, kind of on the same angle, you run it across the sharpening stone. And it grinds it down to make a new blade. So, and then you keep going through, so most coarse, and then a little bit less coarse, and then the finest grind is the very last one you do. So I'm going to get this beast out of the way. I'm going to show you what I use at home.
That's actually pretty cool. I might borrow that.
Yeah.
I do have that one knife that I talked about that I could probably use.
You could probably still use if it was sharpened.
Yeah.
This, on the other hand, is a lot more approachable for the home chef. So instead of guessing on your angle that you're grinding down your knife, this just automatically does it for you. And this came with my knife set 8 years ago, a wedding gift, and it's worked just fine. I sharpened my knives the other day, and it was very, very easy. Something like this costs roughly $20. So let's do a little, I kind of sharpened this one, so we're going to use the other Santoku knife down there. Let's do a little test.
Okay.
Dr. Kyle, do you want to do it? Do you want to just take a thin slice off of that tomato? We're going to see how that goes. How's it going?
Not well.
Not well. Okay.
But I'm really good with dull knives.
Okay.
So
but it's a little bit more difficult to slice. So
yeah.
Let's take this and we'll sharpen it. Oops, a little bit more. Get it clean. So this has a coarse grind and then a fine grind. You do the coarse grind first and you just run it through. I can kind of feel it catching as I grind through. You just do that a few times until you feel like it's sharp. I won't do it too much today, but we'll see if we can at least get a little bit more sharp. You can kind of look at it a little bit and see. All right. So we didn't do very much. It might not be as sharp as we need it to be. Let's actually do a little bit more. We're going to get this baby a little bit more sharp. Okay, let's run this through our tomato again, and we'll see if we got it a little bit more sharp with my little sharpening device.
Yeah,
A little bit more sharp?
Yeah. Yep.
Easier to cut a thinner slice?
Yeah.
So, how sharp is sharp enough with your knives? Basically just, as well as, and you can see how thin this is. It's pretty thin. So you just need your knife to be sharp enough to do what you need to do in the kitchen. You don't need it to cut through like a rolled up piece of newspaper, but you do need it to cut through a tomato. So yeah, I've really liked this little device. And you can find like electric sharpeners that you actually plug in and it'll sharpen it for you. So that's probably what I would do for a home chef. So that's your chef knife. This is what I use most of the time. Other knives, we have a utility knife, so a lot smaller than a chef knife, but it can do similar things. I would not use this for a large vegetable like this rutabaga or the butternut squash or like a watermelon because the blade is kind of flimsy. You want something with a little bit more weight to do those larger vegetables. And then you have your serrated knives, which are great for breads, or even like a tomato. Like I'll give you that one again, and sometimes sawing a little bit for like a soft fruit like a tomato, or like a citrus fruit like a lemon or orange is a little bit easier than a flat blade.
I like this one.
You like that one? So, and obviously they can come in different sizes. Does anybody know what this is? What this is called? Steak knife. Not for cutting vegetables in your kitchen. Use this for cutting, meats and steaks at the table. So, all right. Any questions on knives or how to use them? But let's get started chopping our vegetables. So we're going to do about a cup of each of these vegetables in our hash. We have a cup of the red pepper. So I'll let you cut that one up, Dr. Kyle. And we're going to put, we're going to just pile everything on our roasting pan over here, our cookie sheet. So we're going to do kind of small diced peppers. The peppers can actually be slightly larger than the other vegetables because they will cook a little bit faster than the root vegetables. I'm going to tackle the rutabaga, although I am going to use the slightly smaller one today. I'm going to use my knife. I feel at home with this. So as you can see, and if you have a rutabaga in front of you, you'll notice that it has like a wax on it. And I've never found a rutabaga in the store without the wax. So this is a vegetable you probably don't want to eat the skin of it. Definitely peel off that wax. The reason why they have to wax a rutabaga apparently is because it has a higher moisture content than other root vegetables. So if they didn't wax it, it would dry up and become shriveled. So I used my chef knife to cut through. Perfect. That looks great.
This size, that size.
Oh, I would do that size.
Okay.
Yep. So use my chef knife to cut through. A vegetable peeler would work okay. I realized I forgot my paring knife. So a paring knife would be just a little bit shorter than this, and you could actually, a steak knife, I take it back, it's not just for cutting steaks. you could use it sort of as a paring knife and kind of peel like that. A paring knife, you're going to, it's something that you could hold and cut in your hand with. So that's one way, to use a paring knife, even though this is not a paring knife. I kind of prefer a vegetable peeler to peel the rutabagas. So why rutabaga? Why did I choose rutabaga today? Rutabaga is a vegetable that is pretty much always in season, always available at your grocery store. But how many people in the room, can I get a show of hands of people that have ever tried a rutabaga? I see 4 people in our room have tried rutabagas. Has anybody ever purchased a rutabaga? I see no hands. Nobody has ever purchased a rutabaga. So it's a vegetable that you kind of walk, past in your grocery store and don't really pay much attention to. They're also very nutritious. They're rich in a lot of minerals like magnesium and potassium and calcium, and also vitamin C. You can replace them for potatoes in a lot of recipes. You could cook this and mash it like a potato or roast it like a potato. We're kind of swapping it out for potatoes in today's hash. So if you didn't like the rutabaga today, you could always just use a potato. But they're a lot lower in carb than a potato. Calorie-wise, and I don't have the carb information memorized, but calorie-wise, a rutabaga has about 50 calories per half cup, and a potato would have around 130 calories per half cup. So you're saving quite a bit calories and carbohydrate-wise. So there's the peeled rutabaga, and I'm just going to dice it. I'm actually going to clean off my knife a little bit more and get some of that wax off. She's already done there with the, and actually we're going to wait a second on those. We're going to use those for garnish.
Do you want
Yeah, so I'll get her started on the Brussels sprouts, and what we're going to do with the Brussels sprouts is quarter them. Okay, so we'll throw those right on there. She's faster than I am with the knives. So one knife skill that I like to use is I like to put the blade of my knife or the tip of my knife into the cutting board and then sort of just rock backwards. Just kind of helps
when it's a really hard vegetable?
Well, anything really. Like chopping anything, it just kind of helps to ground your knife a little bit. And that rocking motion makes it a little bit easier to chop, especially when it's a little bit flatter like this.
So Dr. Beiser, the coroner in Lucas County, would always tell us that you're only allowed to have 2 swipes for an organ or whatever. So
Okay.
you're supposed to go. So if this is a kidney, right?
Yeah.
So you're supposed to go down and back.
Okay.
Because she didn't want all those little lines and hack marks in the organ.
Okay.
And so it's just 1, 2. That's all you get.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about cutting organs. But if that's what you say, I'll take your word for it. So I like to slice in one direction and make like little flat discs with the rutabaga, and then make it into kind of sticks, and then chop the sticks as I go. And the rocking motion is more, I guess it's more helpful for, the sticks, because you can see you can kind of ground your knife and just keep rocking it versus, hacking it. So, again, it's going to be different for every vegetable you use, what type of method you use to chop. Okay. Dr. Kyle's doing a great job down there on the Brussels sprouts. We have our red and our green out of our rainbow. So this recipe is really high in vitamin C. I know a lot of people have been sick recently with the flu and colds and all sorts of garbage like that, this would be a great recipe to pack lots of vitamin C into your family's diet. The Brussels sprouts, the red pepper, and the rutabaga, and actually the turnips as well, are all very rich in vitamin C.
So I think I hold the hospital record. Vicki, do you know, do I still hold the hospital record for the most exposures? Because
Most exposures to
blood exposures, because I'll get in there and try to get super fancy, or I'll try to do something that I'm not being, well, I'm always being careful, but sometimes they can be slippery.
We don't want any blood exposures today. So the root vegetables, again, do take a little bit more time to cut up than some of the other vegetables. That looks like about a cup to me.
I have more
I'm
than
going
a
to just
cup.
set these aside and I'll put them all on the sheet together.
I have more than a cup. Should I stop on those?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right. So I'll let you do the turnip then.
Okay.
So turnip is our other featured vegetable today. Slightly different than the rutabaga, actually slightly lower in calories than the rutabaga. So the lowest in calorie out of the potato, rutabaga, and turnip. Turnips and rutabagas are actually in the cruciferous vegetable family, as well as Brussels sprouts. So that cruciferous vegetable family would be those like sulfur-smelling vegetables, like your cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, things like that. They're all kind of related. A rutabaga is actually a cross between a turnip and a cabbage. So, and Brussels sprouts I kind of think of as baby cabbages. But again, very good for you, really easy to find. If you have been going to our hospital farmers markets in the fall, Matt Baker had a lot of turnips, and I would anticipate now that spring is coming slowly. We will have some more turnips grown locally. You can eat them raw. They're excellent raw or cooked. My kids actually love snacking on raw turnips. So
Should I peel this too?
you don't have to. The turnip
Okay.
you don't actually have to peel. I kind of like a little bit of that purple. As long as it's really well washed, you should be fine.
So would you consider these keto friendly? Like, are a lot of people replace their
I would definitely,
like
definitely.
cauliflower
Yeah, the turnip
potatoes.
would be keto friendly, very low carb. So especially if you're eating them raw too. But yeah, cooked, again, people mash turnips as well in place of mashed potatoes, so a lot less starchy than, it's
Here's your size,
other
okay.
vegetables. Yeah, so I'm going to start with the butternut squash. So I usually, again, I'm using my chef knife. Again, you'll see I use my chef knife quite frequently. And I'm just going to use like the long part of it. I'm not going to use the bulb right now. And then I'm going to peel that. This butternut squash isn't as vibrant orange as I would hope, but you get what you get sometimes. So this recipe is really adaptable. If there's certain vegetables that you don't like in here, you can swap them out for tons of different vegetables. With the butternut squash, you could swap sweet potato for the butternut squash. I do kind of like that bright orange and sweet flavor that either a butternut squash or a sweet potato would have. You could use other varieties of squash as well. So as you can see, I sliced the butternut squash again into kind of flat rectangular rectangles, I guess. And then I'm dicing them into sticks. And then into cubes. And again, once you get it into sticks, it makes dicing it into cubes really easy.
Do you want me to put the tomato on there?
Actually, yeah, we're gonna leave the tomato off. That was just for
Just for demo?
Just for demo, just
Do you
to show
want
you how
me
sharp
to-
our. Yep, and that's it. Actually, we're gonna
Okay.
we can toss these on there.
Okay.
I'll have you bring the tray over here. So we have all of our beautiful vegetables think I used a little bit more rutabaga than a cup, so we're gonna just stop with a butternut squash. The measurements are really adaptable as well. If there's certain vegetables that maybe you have more of, go ahead and add more. They're just kind of recommendations, I guess. But so I'm actually gonna I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of avocado oil over it again. So avocado oil I always use for roasting because it has that high smoke point that we're looking for. And then if you wanna just
Stir it around.
Yep, that's
Okay.
good too, whatever you have. Give it a stir and kind of spread them out in a single layer on the roasting pan. We're going to roast them at 400, and the time really depends on how big your vegetables are and which ones you're using. If they're really small, 20 minutes might be enough, but if they're a little bit bigger, I would say those vegetables I might have to roast for a half an hour to 45 minutes. Luckily, we have some pre-roasted vegetables that we'll use for our recipes today, so you're not all waiting for 45 minutes while the veggies roast. So when you're ready to serve the hash, turn on your stove and add your turkey sausage. And if it's a really lean turkey sausage, you may need to add some oil to keep it from sticking.
Avocado oil again?
Yeah,
Would use?
You could use olive oil depending on how high the temperature is, but I usually, if I'm using olive oil or avocado oil for one thing in the kitchen versus getting out 2 different bottles, I'm a big fan. Have you ever had avocado oil? Do you use it?
Mm-mm.
No? I love it, not only because it has a high smoke point, but also because it's flavorless. It doesn't taste like an avocado. A lot of people are kind of scared off from avocado oil because they maybe don't like the flavor of avocados. But you don't have to worry about that. Another time-saving tip here, if you make up a big batch of turkey sausage and cook it all and crumble it, something that I did was I took my cooked crumbled turkey sausage. This is getting really hot really fast. One second. So I took my turkey sausage crumbles and I put them on like a baking sheet like that in a single layer, put them in my freezer and sort of flash froze them. And then once they were frozen, I took them out and transferred them to a Ziploc bag. And that way, when I want to make this, I don't have to like make the turkey sausage and crumble it. I have like this mass amount of already cooked turkey sausage in my freezer, so it kind of saves you a step on a busy night. I'm all about doing things ahead of time, if I can, if I have time.
I'm all about doing them late.
Doing them late, last minute. And I know there are people like that too, that say, I don't have time to plan ahead like that. Like I just, I do it when I have time, or when I'm ready to eat it. And you had a great tip. You use like the home meal,
Right. The delivery service.
Yeah.
They deliver all the ingredients.
And
It's
you
fun.
prepare it at home yourself, but they deliver the ingredients in the exact quantities with the recipes to your house, and you've had a lot of success with those. And like you said, sometimes it can be a little bit expensive, but
When you work the math out, it's not that much. I mean, if you go and you take, if it's just, sometimes I get it for 2. So if it's just one of my kids and me, then, I mean, by the time we go and get even fast food sometimes, it ends up being comparable. So
yeah. Plus, they're a lot healthier than going out and getting fast food.
And you don't waste as much like ingredients. Like, if I only need a half a cup of this thing, you know what I mean? You don't have to buy all that, and
because that might sit in your refrigerator and go bad. Yeah, and any wasted ingredient turns out to be a really expensive ingredient.
Right.
So, plus the other benefit, like the oils and spices and things like that, all come with it. So.
And it's fun because you get to try things that, I think we had a yakima. Have you ever heard of a yakima fruit? Is it a fruit? It's almost like a rutabaga. It's really super dense, and I think it's like African or something.
We actually ate it last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a pear and a potato or something mixed.
Yep. Mexico.
Is it Mexico?
I think, a lot. Yeah, in Mexican
Yeah.
dishes. So, or South American, I don't know. But I've seen it called the Mexican potato.
Oh. I can't even
heard
remember
people
what we
say
made
that,
it with, but we've made some fun stuff. I mean,
I'll
it's
just
interesting.
I'll just cut it up sometimes and we'll eat it raw. My kids
Right,
really
yeah.
like to eat it raw. Okay. So our turkey sausage is almost cooked. Actually, we can get our eggs started too while we're... How are you at cracking eggs?
I'm good at it.
You're
Super
good
good. Yep.
I think you're... Okay, we'll give it a try. Okay, what's the worst that can happen? So the egg for this dish, and I'm going to put just a tiny bit of oil in there too, just to make sure it doesn't stick. The eggs for this dish, you could do like a poached egg or like an over easy egg, where you just crack it in and then you flip it halfway through. Or if you don't like the runny yolk, you can cook the yolk all the way through, whatever.
So we're doing an over easy egg.
Yes.
So yolk intact.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And if you want to crack it in the bowl,
I'll just do one.
okay. Or I can do it too if you don't feel comfortable.
I can do it.
You can do it? You do one and I'll do one.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, I broke it.
That's all right.
That never happens.
There we go.
It's so
You know what?
embarrassing. I want
That's
to take
okay.
it off.
It's all right. You know what? If one of my kids were eating this dish, they would love your egg
Let's see.
better than mine. And you want to sprinkle a little salt and pepper over it, because what's an egg without a little salt and pepper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm going to steal this for a second. There's a lot of liquid in our sausage pan, so I'm just going to drain a little bit of that off. Should put this over a little closer here. Because who wants turkey liquid in their hash, right? And it really just depends on how lean your turkey is with this. If it's a really lean turkey, you probably will not have anything to drain off. That's good enough. It turned off on me. That didn't sound good. That sounded angry. All right, there we go. It's all gas now. So then you put your vegetables in, and basically at this stage you're just kind of reheating the vegetables a little bit. And I am going to toss a little bit of garlic in as well. This is optional. You don't have to add the garlic, but it does add a little bit of flavor. And my other trick with the chef knife, I smash the garlic. And then just give it a quick chop. How are our eggs doing over there?
They look like they might need flipped.
Okay. Another minute?
Yeah,
Flip.
what do you think?
Sticking?
Little.
Little stick. Well, sometimes my trick, if the egg is sticking, sometimes the heat, I think makes them like stick to the pan. So I'll just turn my heat off for a second. And sometimes that helps to release them a little bit. Add just a clove of garlic in there. You can turn that off. All right, let's see how these eggs are. So at home, I would highly recommend, I thought this was a nonstick pan, but it may not be. They are pretty glued to that.
I hope your yolk doesn't break.
She hopes my yolk doesn't break. We'll just let them sit there another second or two. So to serve this up, just kind of pile it on a plate. I actually came up with this idea. I kind of stole it. I was in Asheville, North Carolina recently. My husband took me to this like really hipster breakfast spot, and this was on the menu. Sort of this, not exactly this, but it was a vegetable hash, and I actually had chorizo in it, and they put some cheese on top of it and the egg, and it had some like really nice greens as a base, and then to top it off they had some radishes on top of it, so that's why we have the radishes. But so do we have some cheese down here? So we have a little bit of feta to sprinkle over it if you want. Goat cheese would also be really good for this. Let's see here.
I'm gonna hold it.
Sure. Okay. It broke. It's the pan's fault. I'm blaming the pan. Okay. So, yeah. Or if you don't like eggs, you can just eat it without it. So, I'll show you what I was talking about for the radishes. Just kind of thinly slicing some radishes as a garnish. Would be a nice garnish. And again, this really sharp chef knife is slicing through so nice and easy. Beautiful, right?
Looks awesome.
All right, that's gonna be good. There we go.
Yay! It looks good.
So there's our rainbow vegetable hash with turkey sausage and an over easy sort of egg. Dr. Kyle, thanks for joining me today for knife skills. And thanks to our audience and our viewers at home for joining us as well.